Hey you guys, this is lesson 1.6, and this lesson is about calculating the other endpoint of a line segment. So I'm going to draw some pictures to try to hopefully help you understand what this is really asking. So first, if it wants us to draw a picture AC, and that's a segment up top, since there are no arrows when we look at this, since it's a segment, that means it's a certain length, which means if it's a measurable length, there is a middle. So I'm going to use this picture down here, even though that's not the intention. I'm just going to use it. So it says draw segment AC. So that's what we would have there. And then I'd like to change this part. It says if B, which I'm going to change it because of the picture below. I'm going to change it to T for toy. Oh, yeah, T for toy or Tom or I don't know, something that starts with a T, table. So if T is the midpoint of AC, where should it go? So it should be somewhere here in the middle, right? Like somewhere in the middle. And we know this perfect specific location by using what we learned yesterday. What we learned yesterday is that there is an equation to find the midpoint if you have both endpoints. The equation is x plus x divided by 2. And then to find the y value, you do y plus y divided by 2. And that's going to be your coordinate. This is going to give you your x. I'm going to use this, it's called subscript. I'm going to use an m for midpoint. So the reason I'm using an m is to tell us that that's the x for the midpoint. And then it'll tell us our y of the midpoint. So the next question says, what should we do if now we know one point and the midpoint, but we need to find the other point? So this is where it gets a little bit ugly or messy. There's two different ways that I like to explain this idea. One is using pictures, and the other is using algebra, like steps. Some people prefer the picture, some people prefer the algebra. So I will show you both. I'm going to put this formula up here. One second, let me check something. Okay, I'm going to put the formula right here. So you're going to end up, when you have to do this, basically what you're doing in this case is you are being given one endpoint, and then you're being given the middle or the midpoint. And then you need to figure out what is this. That's going to be the difference today. So what's going to happen is you're going to use this formula. Where xm is the midpoint m. And then you're going to do y plus y divided by 2 equals y sub m. In the summary section, I'll put this a little bit differently once we've practiced a little. So the first thing I'd like you guys to do is just pause this video, and I want you to determine what these coordinates are. So I'll do the first one, and then I want you to pause the video. So what I'm asking you to do is, for A, for example, I want you to tell me what that coordinate is. So that if you start in the middle and you go backwards 1, 2, 3, -3, and then you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, that coordinate is -3, 4. So if you could please pause the video and try to figure out what B, C, and D are. Okay, so I hope that you have tried to find what B, C, and D are, what their coordinates are. So B is forward 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C is forward 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then down 2. So it's forward 5, down, so -2. And then D is backwards 2, so -2, and then down 1, 2, 3, -3. Okay? So on the next page, I have copied those numbers up at the top, those coordinates. So what this says is, given A is an endpoint. Okay, A is an endpoint. And 5, -7 is the midpoint. Find the other point. So I'm going to graph this quickly. So A is -3, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's A. And then the midpoint, which I'm just going to call M for now, lowercase m for midpoint, is 5, -7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's our midpoint. So what you can see here is that this line is going to be really long. We have this here, and then it's going to go the same distance over to the new endpoint because this is the middle. So what we want to do is find out, what is this? Where is this? Okay, there's a couple ways you can do this. So one way that some people, when they're not really sure what to do, one way that some people would do it is they would say, okay, well, let's see, how far did we drop? How far did we drop? We dropped 1 box, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 boxes. We dropped 11 boxes. So then they would be like, okay, well, if we need to do that again, we'd start here where we're at and drop 11 more boxes, right? So if we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, we would be down at -18 because we'd have to drop 11 more. And then some people would say, okay, well, how far over did we move? How far over is this? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes over. We went 8 boxes forward. So that would mean from here, we would go 8 boxes forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But we were already at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So maybe we think it's like -18, 13. It's off the graph, unfortunately, which is too bad. But it would be nice if it wasn't quite that far. So I will be honest, I never use this graphing picture. I will show you a different method that I use that I think is really nice, but some of you might hate it, and that's fine. But I'm going to show you the algebra. So here's the formula. The formula is x plus endpoint x divided by 2 equals midpoint x. So what that would look like is the x from A is -3 divided by 2. And the midpoint x is 5. So this would be how you set the formula up. To solve, you need to do some algebra. That's why we started with some algebra review. Times 2 on both sides, and you get x plus a minus becomes -3 equals 10. And then plus 3 plus 3. And you get, 13. Also, you guys, I just realized over here, I was just kind of scratching things out, and I flipped these two numbers around. We should have had 13 first, and then -18 for the y. My apologies. So we know the x value is in fact 13. Then we have to do the same exact thing for the y side. So what the equation will be here is y plus the endpoint y divided by 2 equals the midpoint y. So we would go y plus the endpoint y is 4 divided by 2 equals the midpoint y, -7. And then we go ahead and solve. Times 2 times 2. These cancel, that's why you do that. Just like over here they canceled. So you get y plus 4 equals -14. Then you subtract 4, and you get y equals -18. So when it says find the other endpoint is at 13, -18. So this got a little bit messy, but it's because I was trying to show you a few different things. I'd like to show you that just here's what I'd like to show you. If this is your A, your endpoint, and this was our M, our midpoint, and we need to find this other endpoint. A was, I just have to pull it, -3, 4. The midpoint was 5, -7. And we need to find this. And there's two parts to it, the x and the y. So here's what I do. You don't have to do this. You can use this algebra. A lot of students like this. Okay, you can use that. That's totally fine. But I'm just going to show you what I use, okay? So there's two moves that we have to figure out. From the x direction, how far did we go? So those are all my x numbers. So what I do is I think about it like this. First of all, from -3 to 5, I ask myself, did I go up or did I go down? From -3 to 5, if you think temperature, for example, it got warmer. It went up. From -3 to 5, how much did it go up? Well, from -3 to 0 is how many? That'd be 3. And then from 0 to 5 is how many? From 0 to 5 is 5. So 3 and 5 is 8. Or I could just count up, that I went up 8. So if that's halfway, then to go the other halfway, I need to go up 8 again, because it's halfway. So 5 plus 8 is 13. So again, from -3 to 5, I went up 8. That's halfway, so I need to go up 8 again, and I end at 13. And then I do the same thing for the y. So I would go from here to here to here. What happened? And these numbers are pretty big, so it's kind of gross, but from 4 to -7, if you think of the temperature in the winter, if it's 4 degrees on one day and then the next day it's -7, the temperature went down. From 4 to 0 is how much? That's 4. And then from 0 to -7 is how much? From 0 to -7, that's 7. So 4 plus 7 together, it went down 11 degrees. Yuck, yuck, yuck. But if that's halfway, then to go the other halfway, you have to go down 11 again, because it's halfway. So if the temperature dropped more, or in your calculator, you could type -7 minus 11, you would get -18. And that was our solution. Okay? So now that we've seen both methods, I'm just not going to explain the methods again because I don't want you to get frustrated. But I'll do both methods to find this problem, to find the answer to this one. So this one says, given D is an endpoint. All right, D is up here, -2, -3. And 1, 2 is the midpoint. We want to find the other point. Okay, well, we have two options. We can do x plus endpoint x divided by 2 equals midpoint y. Oh, sorry, midpoint x. And then the y plus endpoint y divided by 2 equals midpoint y. And fill those numbers in and solve those. So that's our first option. Why don't we go ahead and do that? So here we would have x plus, our endpoint x is -2. It's from this guy. That's our endpoint. So plus a -2, that's kind of ugly. We'll rewrite that in a second. And divided by 2 equals the midpoint x, which is 1. So then we'll go through and solve that. You're always going to multiply by 2, chunga chunga. So this is going to become just regular x minus 2 equals 2. 1 times 2 is 2. And then plus 2 plus 2, we get x equals 4. So we set up this next one. Y plus the endpoint y is -3 divided by 2 equals the midpoint y from here is 2. So we do our first steps. If you want to pause the video and try to solve this one by yourself, if you want to pause it, go ahead. Okay, so then what you would do is you'd multiply by 2 on both sides. Those drop. You would have y minus 3 equals 4. Then you would do plus 3 on both sides, and you get y equals 7. So the other endpoint would be 4, 7. Now, if you want to do the picture version, whoops. Okay, here's how the picture version would look. So we would want to check in the x direction. So from here to here, did we go up or down? Well, we went from a negative to a positive. If you guys want to try this method on your own, why don't you stop the video if you want to try this one on your own. Okay, so from -2 to 1, from -2 to 0 is 2. -2 to 0 is 2. And then 0 to 1 is 1. That means that's a total of 3. We went up 3. Well, if that's halfway, we need to do that again. So 1 plus 3 again is 4. And then we go through and do the same thing for our y value. So from -3 to 2, did we go up or down? From -3 to 2. Well, from -3 to 0 is 3 steps. From 0 to 2 is 2 steps. 3 and 2 is 5. So we went up 5. But if that's halfway, we got to go ahead and do that again because it's halfway. So 2 plus 5 is 7. So we end up with 4, 7. Either method is going to work. You end up with 4, 7 in either case, and that's what we needed to do. So the big difference between yesterday and today, I just want to highlight the big difference is that yesterday, if it says find the midpoint, yesterday, this was yesterday, find the midpoint. This is the easy one. I shouldn't say it's easy, it's just easier. This is the one where you simply do this. You just add them up and divide it by 2. Add them up and divide it by 2. Now today, if it says find the other endpoint, that's when you use this stuff. This is the icky version. So when it says find the other endpoint, that's the yucky, this one that looks complicated. When it says find the midpoint, that's the slightly easier one. Okay? So if you guys want to go ahead and start your homework, you're good to go. Let me know if you have questions.